The sea does not conquer land here, it persuades it. Welcome to another story in the Brief Universal History of Civilizations series. Today, I'll tell you about the Swahili Coast, where from about 900 to 1500, a civilization grows not by empire or invasion, but by rhythm, language, and exchange, you see. This is a shoreline shaped by monsoon winds. Seasons decide direction. Ports face the ocean more than the interior. Gold, ivory, and people move outward, while words, faith, and goods arrive from across the water. Nothing here seeks domination. Everything seeks connection. Islam arrives without armies. Cities rise without walls. Power lives in contracts, kinship, and reputation. Identity becomes layered. African in body, Indian Ocean in mind, Muslim in rhythm. To understand the Swahili world, we must stop looking for borders and start listening to the tide. The boy spends his days close to the water. It's the 11th century, and the port wakes with the wind. When the monsoon shifts, ships appear almost on cue, sails dark against the bright sea. He watches them arrive and starts to see the pattern before he knows any names. The sea marks time better than any ruler ever could, you know. Many different languages mix along the quay. Arabic carries contracts and numbers. Persian turns up with cloth and long stories. Bantu fills the houses behind the port. The boy understands just enough of each to move between worlds. No one asks where he's from. What matters is whether he understands how things are done. Knowledge here is practical, not passed down through family. The land beyond the city feels far away. Inland paths matter only because they lead to goods that reach the shore. Authority doesn't stretch deep into the interior. It gathers at the docks, where weights are checked and promises are made. Belonging comes from taking part. Those who trade belong. Those who don't stay outside, even if they live nearby. Gold, ivory, and luxury goods pass through hands that will never own them. The boy learns that wealth isn't something you hold on to, it's something you guide. Ships leave as reliably as they arrive. When the wind turns, the city breathes out and waits. Nothing is forced. Everything follows a rhythm, I mean. No empire rules this world. Ports recognize each other without anyone being in charge. Order is held together by timing, trust, and doing things over and over, not by armies. The sea ties places together more tightly than land ever could. The view pulls back. From about the 10th to the 15th century, predictable monsoon winds knit the Indian Ocean into a single commercial space. African ports become nodes in a shared maritime city, linked by movement rather than territory. At dusk, the boy sits on the edge of the pier and listens as water hits stone. Tomorrow, new ships will arrive. Others will leave. The ocean feels closer than the land because it's where the world happens. The day starts before the heat really sets in. It's the 12th century on the Swahili Coast, and Amina moves through the house getting food and cloth ready for the market. With her children, she speaks the Bantu words she learned from her mother. They feel soft and familiar, tied to habit and family. This is the language of home, you know. When she steps outside, her voice changes. At the stall, trade needs Arabic. Prices, debts, and promises have to be said clearly, shaped by rules that everyone knows. Amina knows enough. She doesn't need elegance, she needs to be exact. Trust depends on getting the words right. Between home and market, another language fills the air. Swahili carries greetings, jokes, instructions called across the street. It blends land and sea without asking permission. No one teaches it formally. It grows because people need something that works between worlds. The language forms where the traffic is thickest. Amina doesn't think of this as changing who she is. She adapts. At home, family ties matter. At the docks, being reliable matters. Faith opens doors to the wider world, not separation from the old one. Islam shapes time, marriage, and law, but it doesn't erase memory. It settles into the rhythm of exchange, I mean. Merchants arrive and leave with the winds. None stay long enough to rule. There are no settlers claiming land, no armies making everyone the same. Influence comes through repetition, not force. Over time, habits shift. Dress changes. Names change. The structure stays open. The view pulls back. From about the 10th to the 13th century, steady trade along the Swahili Coast brings Islamic law and Arabic literacy. Local society takes in these tools selectively. Culture forms through blending, not replacement. As evening comes, Amina goes home. She switches languages without noticing. Her world is layered, not split. To belong here isn't to come from conquerors, but to take part in the network. Swahili identity grows this way, practical, adaptable, and rooted in movement rather than where you started. The argument starts at the docks, not in the fields. It's the 13th century, and the harbour is busy. Two merchants are going at it over a shipment that arrived late, their voices cutting through the noise of the waves and the loading crews. The ruler listens from a shaded spot by the market, hands still, face giving nothing away, you know. He doesn't ask about territory or loyalty. He asks when the goods got there, who signed the deal, and which wind slowed the ship down. His concern is things staying on track. If trust breaks here, trade breaks everywhere. His judgment has to put things back in balance, not show off his power. Authority here is judged by whether things start moving again. His influence is clear but limited. It stops at the port walls. Beyond them, villages run themselves. Inland chiefs follow their own rhythms. The ruler has no interest in taking over new land. Expanding would spread resources thin and disrupt the flow. Control is exercised through mediation, not force. Stability comes from making sure promises are kept. Officials nearby write down the settlement. Compensation is agreed. The merchants accept it because business can carry on. No soldiers move, no banners go up. Order holds because this kind of agreement happens often enough to feel like the normal way of doing things. Habit takes the place of command. Keeping calm becomes the policy, I mean. The city thrives because it connects things. Ships from different ports all follow the same basic practices. The rules look alike. Expectations line up. The ruler manages relationships rather than subjects. His job is to keep the network clear and predictable, so strangers can trust it quickly. The view pulls back. Along the Swahili coast from about the 12th to the 15th century, city-states work as points in a maritime web. The broken-up geography and narrow inland areas make it hard to build an empire. Authority stays local and practical, focused on keeping trade intact rather than expanding land. As the crowd thins out, the ruler stays seated. Another ship enters the harbour. another argument will follow. Power here is measured by open routes and steady water. Stability is built not by taking control, but by holding a balance day after day where land meets sea. The house is built of stone now, not timber, and that still feels strange. It's the early 14th century, and Asher's family watches the city change with each season. Walls go up, courtyards are paved, mosques grow taller and more carefully designed. Kilwa no longer feels like somewhere temporary, you know. Coins pass through Asher's hands every day. Gold from the interior arrives steadily, carried from lands beyond rivers and forests. It's weighed, made into coins, and sent back across the sea. Her family doesn't mine it. They don't rule the people who do. They manage the passage. Wealth here isn't owned. It's channeled. Markets are busy but calm. Credit works. Contracts hold. Ships arrive, knowing what to expect. Kilwa gets talked about in distant ports as a place where deals are safe and rulers reliable. That reputation matters more than walls or weapons. Trust is the city's strongest defense. The family knows this moment clearly. This is a peak, not a beginning. There's no plan to conquer inland. No army waits to march. The city grows denser, not bigger. Wealth goes around instead of turning into force. Stability depends on keeping the network going, not turning it into territory, I mean. Caravans from the interior meet ships from the ocean here, then go their separate ways. The city exists to make this exchange smooth. Stone gives confidence. Gold gives weight. Neither turns Kilwa into an empire. The view pulls back. With control over gold routes linked to Mapungubwe and Great Zimbabwe, Kilwa reaches the peak of the Indian Ocean system. Capital gathers. Architecture solidifies. Prestige reaches its height. As evening falls, lamps reflect off white walls and still water. The city feels complete. That's the limit. Beyond this point, growing would mean changing what it is. Kilwa stands at the ceiling of the network, rich, connected, and still relying on movement rather than domination. The meeting ends without anyone being sure of anything. It's the middle of the 15th century, and the tide is already changing in the harbour. Hamisi stands near the council house, watching boats get ready to sail toward a rival port down the coast. Yesterday, they were partners. Tomorrow, they might not be. Nothing here stays the same for long, you know. He talks with traders and elders, piecing together news that comes in bits and pieces. One port has lowered its fees. Another has got better access to inland gold. Alliances shift quickly, not through war, but through people doing the sums. No city can make others obey beyond its own shoreline. Influence only travels as far as trust allows. Hamisi understands where his limits lie. Today, he can sort out disputes. Tomorrow, he can't stop competition. There's no higher authority to appeal to, no fleet that keeps the peace for everyone. Each port survives by staying useful, flexible, and well-connected. Security here comes from being needed, not from force. Rivalry is sharp, but it stays contained. Ships don't get burned, markets don't get shut down. Conflict shows up as things being redirected rather than destroyed. Routes bend instead of breaking. Agreements just quietly end. Power expresses itself through shifting direction, not taking over, I mean. The city lasts because it adapts faster than others. When one route weakens, another opens up. When one partner pulls back, another appears. Being flexible is its strength. It's also its weakness. Stability only holds while the balance holds, and balance is never guaranteed. Across the water, other ports are doing the same calculations. No one brings the whole system together. No one dominates it. The network runs itself through constant adjustments, with no center to take the shock when things go wrong. As night falls, Hamisi walks the docks one last time. Lanterns swing, crews whisper about better terms elsewhere. The sea stays open. Competition goes on. In this world, peace is temporary, rivalry is always there, and survival depends on staying relevant inside a system that belongs fully to no one. The harbour goes quiet before the first shot. It's the early 16th century, and Yusuf stands on the deck of his ship, watching unfamiliar vessels turn toward the port. Their sides rise high above the water, their guns face outward. He understands straight away that this isn't negotiation, you know. The sound tears the air, and stone bursts near the quay. Yusuf ducks as people scatter. Contracts fall apart in an instant. No flag comes forward with terms. No offer is made. The cannon speaks alone. Where trade once decided how things worked, force now takes its place. Forts begin to rise along the shore, cutting the port off from the sea that once fed it. Yusuf leaves when he can. Others don't. The network that shaped his life shatters with shocking speed. Ships stay away from the harbour. Routes bend away. Power no longer follows wind and trust, but iron and reach. The Portuguese don't ask to join the system. They take from it. Control replaces exchange. Years later, far from the guns, Hassan sits with children under a tree. He teaches them words they already speak and prayers they already know. Swahili flows without effort. Islam gives order to time and daily life. No fortress shadows the lesson. No official interrupts. Life carries on where power no longer reaches, I mean. The city doesn't rule itself anymore. Taxes are taken. Trade is directed. Political authority has gone, but meaning hasn't. Hassan teaches because teaching survives. Language carries memory. Faith carries order when command can't. The view pulls back. From the early 16th century onward, European naval guns and fortress tactics shatter the Indian Ocean network. Political control collapses. Cultural identity doesn't. As evening falls, the children repeat their lessons and go home. The sea still moves. The forts still stand. The network is gone. What lasts is quieter, smaller, and harder to wipe out. Culture stays where empire once pushed its way in. The Swahili story ends not with collapse, but with displacement. Power does not disappear. It arrives in a form the network was never built to absorb. What is gained here is clarity. A civilization based on trust, rhythm, and movement can flourish without armies, borders, or empires. It can connect worlds gently and efficiently. The Swahili Coast shows how identity grows from participation rather than domination, and how culture can be strong without a state. What is lost is autonomy. When violence enters a system designed for exchange, balance breaks fast. Forts replace contracts. Cannons replace reputation. The network cannot adapt without becoming something else, and so it fractures. And here is the thought to carry forward. Civilizations of connection are powerful only as long as power agrees to play by their rules. When it does not, culture retreats inward and survives quietly, while politics is decided elsewhere. In the next episode, we turn east again, to a world that chooses the opposite answer, where the state grows stronger as trade expands, and where bureaucracy, not merchants, holds the center. Next time, we follow China from about 960 to 1644, the Song Ming world, and watch what happens when civilization builds order not on movement, but on administration that reaches everywhere. What you just saw is a single moment. But the history of civilization isn't made up of isolated moments. It's patterns of different mentalities. It begins with a campfire. Someone sits down, someone else listens, and for the first time, experience becomes memory. This scene is an opening, and everything flows from it. From the first campfire to the last city burning on a phone screen. The YouTube series is drawn from a book that sketches a mental map of humanity, how people thought, believed, and made sense of the world across 5,000 years and 50 chapters. Told not through rulers and dates, but through the lives of people who carried civilizations forward without even realizing it. The book, The Brief Universal History of Civilizations, goes beyond the YouTube series with over 50 maps, available on Amazon. Link in the description.